Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado has served in the U.S. Senate since 2009. He has also been one of the Democrats considering a run for president in 2020. Senator Bennet joins us now only on CBS This Morning to announce his plans for the future. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, John.
So, what are your plans for the future?
So, my plan is to run for president. I appreciate your letting me come here to announce that. I think this country faces two enormous challenges, among others. One is a lack of economic mobility and opportunity for most Americans, and the other is the need to restore integrity to our government. I think we need to do both of those things. And I've spent the last couple of years writing a book about our politics over the last 10 years or so, and I became convinced in that process that if we continue to go down the path we're going, and this isn't just about President Trump, it's about the politics that existed before he got there. He certainly has made matters worse. But if we keep going down this road, we're going to be the first generation of Americans to leave less opportunity, not more, to the next generation. And I just need to do everything I can do to make sure that we don't do that. You
recently got a prostate cancer diagnosis, and you said that made you want to do bigger things. Is this decision a part of that?
It was very clarifying. You know, I feel incredibly lucky because I got a diagnosis, and 5 years later, after an operation, I was cleared with a clean bill of health. That gave me a chance to think about whether I really wanted to run or not. And in the context of getting the diagnosis, my reaction was disappointment at the idea I couldn't run. It would have been a great excuse to say this is just some adolescent fantasy and I shouldn't run. That's not how I reacted. And frankly, the other reaction I had was to think about what it would feel like to get a diagnosis like that and to not have insurance, and to know that this president has worked so hard since he's been president to take insurance away from people in America.
Let me give a quick political question before we go back to policy. There are 20 some odd candidates. We can't even fix on a proper number. You're not the only person from Colorado who's running, right? So John Hickenlooper is running as well, for whom you used to work. Right. So in the business of politics, how do you distinguish yourself from all the other candidates?
Well, you know, when I called my mom and I said to her, somebody has to be 22, and that's why I'm running. And it turns out I'm not. I'm 21. So I've already made a little bit of progress. I think I distinguish myself in a number of ways. One is I have a tendency to tell the truth to the people I represent in Colorado. I want the chance to do that with the American people. Second, I've won very tough races in a purple state, winning red counties in that state. And third, I've got a track record of bipartisan work that's been harder to do during the Trump administration, but still over the 10 years that I've been in the Senate. And then before that, a track record in business, turning around failing businesses and working for 5 years for the children in the Denver Public Schools as their superintendent. I don't think anybody has as broad a set of experiences in the field, and I think that will distinguish me.
Let me ask you, you want to focus on health care, but you talk about bipartisan working in Washington. There are a lot of Democrats who think that bipartisanship doesn't exist in Washington anymore.
Yeah.
That the candidate who's the nominee of the party has to participate in politics as they are, not as they should be in some dream about bipartisanship that doesn't exist.
Yeah. I think that's even more naive than believing in some dream that doesn't exist. In other words, it's naive when you're considering whether you're going to deliver for the next generation of Americans. There is no bipartisanship in Washington today to speak of. That is true. And we have been tyrannized for the last 10 years by the Freedom Caucus. These people won't cooperate, they won't compromise, they believe they have a monopoly on wisdom, and they've got a cartoon version of what the Founding Fathers were trying to do. They need to be beaten or they need to be closed over. But I come from a state that's a third Democratic, a third Independent, and a third Republican. The people I work with are not like the Freedom Caucus. They are Americans who are trying to drive opportunity for their families and for the next generation. And they need a politics that recognizes that they have disagreements among themselves, but they have a shared desire to move the country forward. We have drained our politics of that in Washington. Our politics in Washington lack all imagination, and I think going down the rat hole with the people that are dragging us down the rat hole just as a self-fulfilling prophecy of failing as a republic. That's what I really believe. That's what I think is at stake.
Given the number of Democrats that are running for president, is that a sign of a healthy party or a party who doesn't know what it really wants?
I think it's both. I think right now the Democratic Party doesn't stand for very much, at the national level with respect to what the American people think. But this is the opportunity for us to show what we stand for us to have a competition of ideas. And I think it's phenomenal that we've got as diverse an array of candidates as we have in all respects. And that we've got the number that we have. You know, it's a process like this is long overdue in the Democratic Party.
What's the other big policy idea there should be a competition about?
Well, I think other than
healthcare.
Well, to me, it's economic mobility. How do we restore an economy where
But the president would say the economy's doing great.
Yeah, he would say that. Let me say a couple things about that. First of all, if you look at a chart of the jobs created since '09, which is at the depths of the recession when Barack Obama took over, until today, the chart goes like this every single year. It's gone like this. President Trump's been president since here, so I will give him credit for not screwing up what was already happening before he got there. But from the vantage point of people in our country who can't afford housing, can't afford health care, can't afford early childhood education, can't afford higher education, can't afford a middle-class life, they need us to restore economic mobility in this country. And that is what we should be focused on in this campaign.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. He's running.